Good afternoon, everyone. We're here today to discuss an urgent and most dangerous public safety issue created and perpetuated by the Nassau County Police Department and the administrators of the county executive. Each and every day, the Nassau County Police Department starts the day tour of duty at least 50 crossings short, resulting in the depletion of police manpower because these crossings must be covered. Simply put, a lack of planning and concern by the police department and the county executive is preventing police officers from carrying out their essential functions and protecting the public. Not only does the department start every day down 50 crossing guards, but vacation, personal, and sick time also adds to this crisis. In the first precinct, which might be the busiest precinct in Nassau County, there are times that each and every car post is out of service manning these crossings. When I say out of service, it's important to understand these officers are prohibited from handling any calls and all calls for service, including but not limited to violent felonies, serious motor vehicle accidents, domestic incidents, ADA cases, and crimes in progress. The unfortunate truth is that this issue puts the public in peril each and every day. I've met with the county executive and the top brass of the Nassau County Police Department multiple times on this issue, and they've failed to solve it. We filed the grievance over a year and a half ago, and the county has refused to arbitrate it. We are now seeking the intervention of PERB, the Public Employment Relations Board, so that the state will force the county to carry out its responsibilities. I have this letter that we put together, and it's dated today, and it's to the county executive, and we're giving her one last opportunity to fix the problem before a tragedy occurs that we'll all regret. I want to give you a couple examples so you can get a better understanding of the problem. First, on October 31st, 2018 in 5th Precinct, Halloween, there was a serious auto accident on Elmont Road and Dutch Broadway in Elmont. A four-car auto accident with an overturned vehicle and multiple children pedestrian-aided victims. At that moment, 18 postcars out of the possible 21 cars that manned 5th Precinct were unavailable due to school crossings, rendering them unavailable to respond to this emergency. This resulted in an extensive delay because the patrol cars had to respond from neighboring precincts, the 4th from the south and the 3rd from the north. Second example, in this 1st precinct on April 1st, 2019, there was a serious auto accident with injury on Belmore Avenue and Wallen Lane in North Belmore. At that time, 15 out of the possible 22 patrol cars were covering school crossings, again causing a significant delay in response time. A third example, on April 9th, 2019, in the 1st precinct on West Raymond Avenue in Roosevelt, 9/11 operators were desperately attempting to raise units to respond to a stabbing that just occurred at that location. No 1st precinct units were available because 18 of the 22 units were out on school crossings. Luckily, a 1st precinct unmarked plainclothes unit was working and responded to the call. This crime was an MS-13 gang-related crime, and the further assistance, again, was with delays. We, the PBA, have uncovered the magnitude of the school crossing coverage, and the numbers are astonishing. Year to date, some 14,784 crossings countywide have wreaked havoc on precious response time. One more time, 14,784 crossings. That's unacceptable. This is the height of mismanagement and negligence. In a time when the police are dealing with the opioid epidemic and gang violence, do you feel it's best that our resources are being directed to school crossings? I think not. I'm joined here today with Jerry Larashuta from the CSEA, who represents the school crossing guards, and give Jerry an opportunity to speak. Thank you. Come on, Jerry.
Good afternoon, everybody. Jerry Larashuta, CSEA Local 830. Yeah, we represent civilians in both the Sheriff's Department and, of course, the Police Department. And most of our workers are ancillary, or they help and they aid the law enforcers, like our police civilian aides help the police officers in doing their job, as far as keeping records, or maybe 911 operators. There's a lot of things that we do. Probably no more important job that I can think of would be making sure that our children are safely crossed the street. Now, of course, police officers are more than qualified, but police officers have a job to do. Police officers' jobs are not to cross children. They fight crime. They enforce the law. And like Jim said, I mean, if 1 block away, you're in the middle of a home invasion, or someone's having a serious health issue, and they need an officer there, that officer cannot leave that crossing. This is, without a doubt, one of the worst managed administrations in my career here. I think the worst. Because we are wasting talent, we are wasting money, and we just run this as if it's the worst business that could ever be run. If this was a business, like the old saying goes, we'd be out of business. No doubt about it. And what this county administration has done, literally, I know this is going to sound strange, but they have turned our police officers into scabs. Police officers in Nassau County are doing civilian jobs. That's not what they took their oath for. That's not what they spent all those weeks in training for. The county's falling deeper and deeper into this black hole. It's not getting better, it's getting worse. And it's time that we do something about it. And the people of this county better start watching what's going on, because their money, their resources, and their talents are getting thrown out the window. And I thank you for your time.
I couldn't agree with Jerry more. We're involuntary scabs. We are a paramilitary organization. Police officers have to listen to their supervisors, and when they're told that they have to go and work at a school crossing, they have to do what they're told. Our resolve is to meet with the commissioner, meet with the county executive, meet with the government, and if we can't get a resolve, go through the grievance process. And like I told you, and I think we handed out some copies, we haven't been able to go to an arbitration because the county's dragging their feet on that, and that's why we went to PERB to make the county do their job, force them into meeting with us and arbitrating these issues. This and many other issues. Anybody have any questions?
The commissioner told us this morning they're trying to hire, but people don't want to take the job. What do you-
Then
is that
isn't that his job then to figure out a way to get them hired? That's a cop-out. I'm sorry.
And I can add to that.
Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, let Jerry.
I can add to that, because I've been involved with this commissioner, and I've been involved with this county. This has not been this has been a long brewing problem, okay? We used to have what's known as full-time reduced work schedule crossing guards, only. Because they were married to their crossing, from 7:30 in the morning, or 7 a.m., until 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So they're not part-time. People say, oh, they're part-time. Part-time is when they're done with their 3 hours or 4 hours. Could go to Montauk if they want. Our crossing guards cannot. So, as a result, they have to be, they are married to that crossing, right? They have to go back maybe 2 more times. As a result, they had a benefit package. This county decided, in all its wisdom, to reduce that. Now we have more part-time crossing guards and less full-time crossing guards, and as a result, really the part-timers have no incentive. If they don't come to work, they don't get paid those hours. And since they've started this program, we need to incentivize the part-timers to become full-timers at some point. Or raise the salary significantly, because the money they're making, $22,000 a year. If you live in Massapequa, are you going to drive in a snowstorm to Elmont for an hour and a half worth of pay? Come back to Massapequa and go back there again in the afternoon? They know this. The county's well aware of it. To be honest with you, they're full of you-know-what. This could have been fixed years ago, and they're ignoring it, and maybe you folks can get this message out to the public, and they'll listen.
When did they switch it? When did they switch from full-time to the
5
part-time?
years ago.
5 years ago.
Can I just finish answering your question? If the commissioner said that, and he's not hiring at what we're dangerously low on police officers, she should bringing in police officers also, extra police officers that are off duty, and bring them in. But he's not doing that. He's choosing a different course. And we need answers. We don't need excuses.
How long has this been going on, the replacement of the crossing guards with the officers?
Well, you know what? It's been a problem, but not to this degree. It's over the last year and a half. It's become terrible. Like I said, we've been meeting with the county. We don't want to have to come here to do this, but just like a lot of other things that we don't want to do, like going in front of you people and discussing the reopening of the precincts. But when we did that, precincts all of a sudden reopened. We want to put, we want to put the right amount of pressure, hopefully from the public, that they understand that police officers should be policing, not sitting there for 2 hours during the course of a tour, crossing children. You know, you go to a police academy for 7 months and receive all this training. It's really a waste of resources. They should, you know, like I said, we have the opioid problem, we have gang violence, we have everything. We have vehicle and traffic laws that are being broken. We have to respond to calls for service. Shouldn't be on a crossing, and especially, like Jerry was explaining, we're tied to these crossings. When you're on that crossing, you can't leave. See, we have plenty more examples than the three. I just didn't want to keep you guys all day. We had one where a bicyclist was struck right across the street from a cop, like about 100 yards away, and he couldn't respond to it. He had to call a car to come to respond to it because he's on that crossing and he has to stay there.
So accurate to say this has been a common practice for many years, but it just became particularly bad over the last year and a half.
You know what we would fill in would be like one or two, two or three crossings.
Okay.
That's acceptable in an emergency situation. But when they know that starting off the tour, countywide there's 50 short, they're short 50 school crossing guards, and they're doing nothing about it, and they're not bringing police officers in to fill in and handle the calls. That's not acceptable. It's not acceptable to the public. It's not acceptable to us. It's not acceptable to CSEA. Hire the school crossing guards. Figure out a way to hire the school crossing guards. Don't give excuses. Give answers.
Other than the public safety impact that you talked about, what about how are the officers reacting to doing this type of work?
Listen, you know what? We don't sit around and complain, but they know it's, they would rather be doing police work than doing a job that's, meant for a civilian. It is a civilian's job. It's not a police officer's job. So are we here complaining? We're not here complaining. We're complaining that somebody's going to get hurt, whether it's a police officer or a member of the public. Somebody's going to get hurt. Somebody's going to possibly die if we don't fix this. Anybody else? Somebody got a question.
Principally,
Yeah.
I guess it's another issue or a part of this is that a lot of the covers are coming from further away precincts, which
Yes.
you talked about in one of the examples.
It's like a domino theory, you're stealing from or borrowing from Peter to pay Paul. You have something going on like I explained in the 5th precinct on Halloween. So the 4th and the 3rd came. They have crossings in the 4th and the 3rd also. So then the 8th will have to go into the 3rd, and then the 1st will have to go in the 4th, the 7th will have to go in the 1st, and your response times are through the roof. It's a terrible situation, and they know it, but they have to address it and they have to fix it.
What response have you gotten in your numerous meetings with the commissioner or with the county executive outreach you made?
They're just not doing anything. They're not giving me any answers. It's like stick your head in the sand. What's that? The ostrich sticks its head in the sand, pretends it's not happening. Nothing.
And what would be the answer that you're looking for?
Hire school crossing guards. Figure
Does
out
that
a way to
include making them full-time, or?
You know what? I don't have that answer. Would I think making them full-time be an answer? Yeah, absolutely. You have to make the job, if the commissioner is saying that you can't hire them, then you have to make it more enticing. You have to break a few eggs to make a cake, right? You have to pay people what, like Jerry was explaining, that you can hire somebody in Massapequa and he's got a school crossing in Elmont, or she's got a school crossing in Elmont, or whatever it is, or whoever it's working that, it has to be worth their while to go from here to there. You can't, for an hour and a half's pay here and an hour and a half's pay there, and that's what you're getting. People not making the afternoon crossings, and you're gonna, again, on top of the situation that you already having that exists, you're gonna have to take the police officer again to cover the afternoon crossing. It's a terrible situation, and they have to fix it.
And James, I think you said that, this has been an issue for a few years now, but it was smaller numbers. Now this 50 number, how long has it been sort of at this high number that
Well,
it's
we
a real
say,
problem?
Year and a half? Yeah, we filed the grievance about a year and a half ago, so that's when it got to that
And it's been sustained since then?
Yeah, they've been hiring like a little bit here, a little bit there, but nothing substantial to fill a hole that's there.
Explain 50 is what they start out, but that doesn't mean that it's always.
No, no.
Because people bang in sick now.
Well, I think I've tried to explain that during, when I spoke earlier, but that's where they started, at 50. Once you get somebody goes sick, once somebody takes a personal time or vacation time, that number increases.
What's the highest number it's ever been?
Well, you know what, we didn't track that, we just tracked how right there in front of you, and I think that's a number from like the last week, it's almost 15,000, I'm sure it's over 15,000 shortages they've had this school year, where a police officer has had to man the post. So, it's, you know, we showed you in the first precinct, you had the whole precinct out except for 2 cars, and they were on assignment, all out on crossings. How can you operate a precinct like that? It's ridiculous.
What would you say to sort of maybe a police department response and say, hey, listen, you know, crime is down considerably, it's not gonna hurt public safety to have a few officers pitch in because we have this shortage?
You know, crime's not down that good, you know, you know what, I'm not getting into crime figures, but, you know,
It's not
what
just crimes, it's responding
Yeah.
to 80 victims.
yeah, well, like
Right.
Dean just said, you know what, you get a call for an aid, if somebody's having a heart attack, you want your mother to have somebody respond from a precinct over and 3 towns over to get to the house with a defibrillator that could possibly save your mother's life or whoever. It shouldn't be that way. It's
Somebody's 2 blocks away, they get hit by a car, you can't go. You see them, but you can't go.
Why did they switch it from full-time to part-time?
Because they save the
5 years ago?
benefits.
Did-
You have to
so
pay
it's-
benefits, so it was all about money. And you know, I get it, the county's been in fiscal stress for the last 10 years or forever. And so they thought in their wisdom they would save the benefit package, but they forgot the human value of it. That people have to survive and they have to support their families, right? And it's just not worth it for them. I'll guarantee if you look at the chart, your worst days, the snow days, the really wet and cold, damp days, those are the ones with the highest amount of call-ins from the part-time crossing guards. Therefore, I know there was, the highest I heard of was 70 police officers in one day at crossings.
I think we've been higher than that.
And then you've probably been higher. I have higher.
Absolutely been higher than that.
That's huge.
The highest numbers here are the 5th precinct, 1st precinct, 3rd. Aren't they the most busiest precincts
They are
also in the county?
absolutely the most precincts, so, you know, there you go, you're talking the 3 big, busiest precincts in the county, and they don't have enough officers to cover the calls.
They
They
have
have
the
to,
ability to
they
call
have to,
police
dr-
officers.
and they could, yes, they always have the ability to call police officers in that are not working to work, but they're not doing that, they're not exercising that.
Those are the precincts that cannot afford to have any shortages.
None of them could, but if you're gonna pick the top 3,
Busiest time of day too,
Yeah.
so if you have a precinct, how come with those precincts, you have long extended ETAs?
that's right.
So James, they could have the option, of course, right, of holding someone over on overtime
Yes.
to cover for a crossing, but they're choosing
not
not
doing
to
that.
do that?
That's what they're choosing not to do.
Why?
Just saving money. It's all about saving money, it's not about public safety. You know, and I'm not here as a proponent of anything except fixing the problem. You know, there's plenty of things that we offered and things that we spoke about, but they're not biting on anything. So,
Would you be in favor of that option, of them holding you guys over on
sure,
overtime?
until they hire. Again, I'd rather you have civilians doing a civilian job, you know? I don't want my police officers to do crossings. I want them to do police work. I think everybody in this room is in agreement that police officers should be doing police work, not civilians work. Anybody else? Thank you, everyone, for coming out.